our fans are going to see for many, many years to come.
Okay, thank you very much, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson. Troy Aikman, they made it official. Steve Pelleur, by the way, is still unsigned, the Cowboys starting quarterback from last year. Let's go to New York now and Bob Lee.
Thanks, Chris, and momentarily the Green Bay Packers will make it official.
First round, tackle Tony Mandarich, Michigan State. Next up, Detroit
There's no
Lions.
doubt about that one, certainly. Now, we have just been to Irving, Texas, and heard Jerry Jones, the man who's going to be paying Troy Aikman $11.5 million over the next 6 years, talk about his selection of Troy Aikman. Now, Tony Mandarich, the devotee of Guns N' Roses, the 300-and-some-odd-pound offensive tackle, a man the likes of whom we have never seen. Tony Mandarich is the draftee. This guy, once in a lifetime.
He's a great player, Bob. When you watch him, he just dominates play after play. Great physical ability, but he utilizes those skills on every down, and that's rare to see that in the college football players. Look how he just drive these guys off the ball. Just a great football player. Never quits. He'll be down the field 20, 25 yards on occasion. You can see here in pass block and pass protection, very rarely allows any penetration by the defensive lineman. Just a great bookend left tackle who will really help the Green Bay Packers.
4.6 speed at over 300 pounds, and the likes of which we have never seen. We are waiting on Detroit's pick. Will it be Barry Sanders? Probably should be. Tony Mandarich, the selection. Let's get to the podium.
Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions select Barry Sanders, running back of Oklahoma State. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs.
No doubt about that. When there was a little bit of doubt, the best Sanders available. Okay, Barry Sanders goes. We'll have time to go back and think about Aikman and Mandarich and what he is worth. But right now, a true junior, 5'8". Is he big enough to get the job done in the silver stretch offense?
Well, he's not small, Bob. He's just short. You watch him, he's got great quickness, tremendous elusiveness as a runner, great instincts and vision. A lot different than Worley, the other top back in this draft. Worley has more power and more raw speed, but Barry is much more instinctive and much quicker. And if you watch him, he evades tacklers, makes people miss. He's going to be a 1,500-yard rusher in the NFL next season, and he has a great future, and he will generate excitement with the Detroit Lion organization, which is something they desperately need right now.
He is in this draft, of course, as a true junior. Because the fact Oklahoma State is on probation, there has not been a legal challenge to the prohibitions against underclassmen really coming into the draft. The league has really yet to face this. Let's get back to Aikman for just a second. Joe says it was a reach or a mistake by the Cowboys. You, as we were talking and kicking around the rumored McMahon deal to San Diego, are of the opinion you want to develop a quarterback. You don't necessarily have to win now. You like the Aikman selection.
You have to be patient, Bob, and I think the Dallas Cowboys are in a position right now where they can develop Troy Aikman. He's not going to be the savior in Dallas. Steve Pelleur is going to open the season as their #1 quarterback, and I think down the road in 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, Troy Aikman will have the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Jimmy Johnson's a great coach. I think the organization's going to do everything in their power to develop a winner, and if you look at Dallas, so they would have been picking 2, 3, 4, 10. They would have been figuring out ways to move up to get Troy Aikman. They lucked out on the 16th week of the season when Green Bay goes into Phoenix and pulls an upset. Right. So they're very fortunate to get the first pick. All they had to do was sign Troy Aikman, and he's theirs. They did it, and I think it's a great move. So I think the Dallas Cowboys are well on their way to getting back to the top of the NFC East.
Next up, Kansas City. They have approximately 13 minutes to make their selection. Teams in the first round have 15 minutes per pick. Second round, it's 10 minutes per pick, and from there on, it's 5 minutes per selection. It'll be Carl Peterson's first selection. As president of the Kansas City Chiefs, they need linebacker help. Is this where we see Derrick Thomas go?
It should be. They desperately need an outside linebacker, and Derrick Thomas is without question the best outside linebacker in this draft. Broderick Thomas, by the way, is up to 267 pounds. So people are now looking at Broderick as a down end in certain situations, like Minnesota has used Chris Dolman, who when he came out of Pitt was a linebacker and then moved to the defensive line.
Broderick Thomas out there. Derrick Thomas, take the best Thomas available. And Chris, of course, minutes in the best athlete available is what every team covets.
The over-under on that line was about 12.52, Bob, the best athlete available. The best Thomas and the best Sanders available, because you could have 2 Sanders, 2 Thomases go within the first 6 picks, and we'll have to get our research staff on that one to find out when 2 names were so popular, so high on the draft. Let's go back to the Packers with Tony Mandarich. They drafted in the first round offensive lineman at 85, Ken Rutgers, USC, Ron Hallstrom, 82, Iowa, but there's nobody like him. And Tommy, they're comparing Mandarich. The only one they're even comparing him to is your friend Anthony Munoz of the Bengals. And if that's the only one they're comparing it to, you can understand how Lorenzo White made all those yards up at Michigan State. He probably felt his line at Houston last year, and the Oilers wasn't as good as his line was in college.
Well, Munoz is the toughest player that I played ever against on the offensive line. Maybe John Hanna had that kind of exceptional talent, that aggressiveness. But as we have said before, we have not seen anything like Mandarich. This guy is 305 pounds and runs just about the same speed that I ran when I came out of college. So this guy can play football.
And, Joe, what is it to know that you got a guy in front of you like that? Not directly in front, but he's almost directly in front of you from the tackle spot.
Close enough to be in front of you. See, he's right over here, and if you're a right-handed quarterback, that's your blind side. And there's one place that you want somebody you know that's as big as a house. Now, I worked the Gator Bowl this year. Mike Patrick and I had a chance to do that. Michigan State played Georgia in that game. Tony Mandarich has the largest arms that I have seen since Hulk Hogan. Now, Hogan's got those 16-inch pythons. Mandarich is real close, but a real important factor for Tony Mandarich is he comes out of college healthy. A lot of offensive linemen come out with bad knees or nicks or ankles or something. This kid's coming out very big, very healthy, and they think he's going to help Green Bay right away. No question.
Very good also.
Very good, too.
Barry Sanders, the Heisman Trophy winner, the true junior that came out, and he goes to the Detroit Lions. For a while, they were wondering whether Mouse Davis was, I believe, whether he fit exactly into their new offense of the run and shoot as the Lions try to restore the roar. But I think if you draft Barry Sanders, you'll figure out an offense to fit him in, won't you, Tom?
I think that he'll fit basically in any offense. I think the thing that's interesting is people talk about his lack of height. And I'll tell you something. I played with a guy named Howard Stevens at the University of Louisville, about 5'2". They don't open the holes this way. They open the holes this way.
Barry Sanders, so he will go to Detroit. We assume it's Derrick Thomas to go to Kansas City. We assume it's Deion Sanders that will go to Atlanta. Those are pretty much your first 5 picks, and you can almost write them down. The fun begins when we get to number 6, Tampa Bay, because now there's some other trade involving McMahon with San Diego's number 8 pick. Atlanta may also be involved with that. You heard Axe say that with Washington. That trade may still be brewing as well, that Atlanta may get the number 8 pick in San Diego involving Humphreys and Riggs. So they weren't kidding when they said that the McMahon deal was not a done deal yet. We shall wait and see. But in the meantime, here comes the card from the Kansas City Chiefs, who this year may be taking the step to no longer be known as the Chefs. Checking all the spelling, I'm sure. And here's the commissioner.
The Kansas City Chiefs, first-round selection. Derrick Thomas, linebacker, Alabama. Next up, Atlanta Falcons.
And the Kansas City Chiefs, an interesting note on Derrick Thomas is that at Alabama, Derrick Thomas had sack numbers way superior to Cornelius Bennett. We're not trying to say he's better than Cornelius, but already you know that Derrick Thomas is a special sort of football player. He broke his own school record with 88 tackles this last year. He had 45 career sacks, whereas Cornelius only had 15. And the young man from South Miami, Florida, will fit in very nicely with the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that's making a move, Joe.
Well, you know, the thing about him is this is the first time Carl Peterson has a chance to draft that high, so I think he's made a real good selection. They've got the best secondary in the NFL. Now they're moving down to making some of the best linebacker choices.
So Derrick Thomas is the 4th pick. Here's Atlanta, number 5.
Falcons, Atlanta Falcons, first-round choice. Deion Sanders, cornerback, Florida State. Next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And so Kenny Herrock, the player personnel director of Atlanta, he was awfully quick on that pick. Atlanta has really never had a guy like this, a guy that can sit people in the seats. And you mentioned it at Dallas, Joe. Atlanta needs to sit people in the seats. And Deion Sanders, prime time, neon Deion, he's being ranked as the best pure corner to come out of the draft since Michael Haynes in 1976. So already that tells you how good he is.
I talked to the Atlanta scouts that are here today in New York, and they said that through phone polls and in the newspapers, they wanted Deion Sanders. The fans wanted Deion Sanders. And, of course, Atlanta felt if he was available, Neon can make things. I mean, it'll light up get stadium down here, I'll tell you now.
Peachtree Street, they don't need any lights on Peachtree Street anymore. And here comes Tampa's pick, number 6, and maybe this will be Broderick Perkins. We shall see. We know that Ray Perkins wasn't as sold on Broderick Perkins as some of his scouts are, but in the last day or so, we believe that they have moved towards Broderick Thomas. What did I say, Broderick Perkins? No, that's a baseball player who used to play for the San Diego Padres. Broderick Thomas, we assume.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first round selection.